Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all honor, glory, and praise unto Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakwadash. The honors for our apostles and our elders of Great Millstone for teaching us this truth to rule well. Shalom to the scattered abroad, to the elect. I'm just going to be going, doing a brief video, Lord willing, in the spirit and power of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. And it's going to be about the mark of the beast. All right, so let me just play this video and then I'll go into it. You see that? Let me go back over here. And I'll pause it right there. Now let me go into the scriptures. This is Revelations 13 and 16. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in the right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. So first and foremost, let's go into the word mark, which is charagma. Past it. Right here on their foreheads. Charagma, which is a noun, and not just a noun, it's accusative, an accusative noun. It says the accusative case refers to a case used for a noun or pronoun that is a direct object. All right, so that means there's no room for false interpretation. It's not a spiritual thing, it's a direct object. It says, e.g., his disciples came up to show him the building of the temple, which the building of the temple is a direct object. All right, so accusative. All right, so the word there is charagma, for mark. A stamp and imprinted mark of the mark stamped on the forehead or on the right hand as a badge. Look at the word badge. A pin or an emblem. All right. On the foreheads or on the right hand as a badge of the followers of the Antichrist, which, as we know according to scriptures, the Antichrist is already here. All right. The spirit of the Antichrist has been here. Let me see. 1 John 2:18, little children, it is the last time, as ye have heard, that the Antichrist shall come. Even now are there many Antichrists, whereby we know that it is the last time. That's how we knew that it was the last days. Also in Hebrews chapter 1 and verse 1, it tells you, in these last days has the Most High spoken to us through his Son. Which marks the beginning of the last days, through the days that Yahweh Shai came to the scene. It says, verse 22, 1 John 2:22, it says, who is a liar but he that denieth that Mashiach Yahweh Shai, he is Antichrist, that denieth the Father and the Son. All right, so it's not just the Spirit, because in John 4:3 it tells you, and every spirit that confesseth not that Yahweh Shai Mashiach is come in the flesh is not of the Most High. And this is the spirit of the Antichrist. So you have people saying, well, it's only talking about the spirit of the Antichrist, but Mr. Antichrist, all right? So, like it says in 1 John 2, it tells you that there already are many Antichrists, And then it says in verse 22, it's more specific and points it down to each person singularly. He is Antichrist. You see? Which, when you break down the word Antichrist, it's two words. Anti meaning against, and Christ, which goes back to the word Mashiach, which is anointed. Anti-anointed, all right, anti-Yahweh Shai, anti-Most High, anti-prophets. That's really what it goes into. But that spirit's already here. So in that word Antichrist, let's break it down. Anti, look it up. Opposed to, against. You see? Now let's look up the word Christ, which it should say anointed. The title also treated as a name given to Yahushai, which is not true. That's not his name. His name isn't Yahushai Christ. All right. Christ means anointed. Messiah means anointed. All right. It's simply what it means. Anointed, to be anointed. So it says a badge of the followers of the Antichrist, which the followers are the ones that are astray from this truth. You know, those are the followers after wickedness. You know, it says the mark branded upon horses. When you brand a horse, it's not a spiritual thing, right? You mark them physically. That's what they do to slaves. They mark them physically. A thing carved, a sculpture, graven work of idolatrous images. You know, and I always go into that word idolatrous because it's a thing. You know, it's not a spiritual idolatrous image that you just build up in your mind, which there are some, you know, but it starts out with the physical. So it says root word from the same as charax, all right? And you say that word charax, which is the cha, and the ksai, the cha and the sai, chai and shai, or ksai. It says a pale or stake, a palisade. So look up that word. A fence. When you build up a fence, you have a bunch of pales put next to each other. It said pales between which earth, stones, trees, and timbers are heaped and packed together. All right, so a pail. All right, what do you have here? You have a pail, man. All right, you see it impaling the skin. You know, that's a pail. So that's a stake from charaso, all right, charaso, which is to sharpen, to point. Let's look up that word, charaso, Strong's 1125. To write, oh, that's grafo, Slovakia, grafo, which is to write in reference to the form of the letters. So the word, what is written there is talking about basically pen to paper or pencil to paper. You know, you have that physical graph, you know, to write down, to point down, to commit to writing, you see. Write down, to record. So it says, that's the word grafo from the word charax, all right, to pale, to stake. And then you go to the word you already went to the word grafo. Let's go back to the word charagma, which is down here. I don't know if it says it. It says a scratching or an etching. That's the word I was looking for. A scratch or etching, i.e. a stamp, as a badge of servitude. So with the word etching. Engraving. Let's go further in to the word etching, because there was a point I wanted to make there. Etching. The act or process of making designs or pictures on a metal plate. You see, so that goes back to the word grapho, which I was making mention of. You know, putting the pen down to the paper, glass, etc., by the corrosive action of an acid instead of by a burin. You know, so it's by the corrosive action of an acid instead of by a burin. It says an impression, that means to press down with great force, as on paper, taken from an etched plate. The design so produced, a metal plate bearing such a design. So it's going to be with great force. That's what the similitude is. It's not talking about a literal metal plate that's going to be put on you. It's with great force, to press down with great force. You know? So going back over here, the word charagma, which is a scratch or an etching, you know, so to press down, a stamp, to trample, to stomp, to bring down heavily on the ground or on something on the ground, impress a pattern or mark, especially an official one, on a surface, an object, or a document. You know, and I went into it the other day, how all three of those describe the RFID chip. You know, it says a graven mark. Graven. Bearing plays engrave an inscription or an image on a surface. All right, what they're gonna do is they're gonna put that chip inside of you. You know, like in that video. You see, the chip is on the inside of the Karax. All right, which is a stick. That stick right there. The idol is inside of the stick, and when they press down into your skin, what they do is they press the end of it. All right, that's why you have those two things right there as a cross for leverage, and then you press down on the top, which is a little like a button, and it presses down the force through the Karax and presses the RFID into your body, you know, and then you're able to open doors and, you know, have your documents on there, you know, and it's there for a reason. So let me go into the word. Continuing on, it says Revelation 13:17, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, which is only the ones that had the mark of the beast were able to buy and sell. It says, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. You know? So unless you were of the beast, you couldn't buy, sell, you couldn't do anything. You know? Verse 18, here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. Now, verse 18, when you go into it, it says, here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast. Salakia, which is Thar, what is it? Thareon. Worship the beast, mark of the beast. I saw the beast and the kings of the earth, kingdom unto the beast. All right, so it's a couple scriptures that talk about the beast. Now, when you go into it, Thareon, which is an animal, a wild beast, or a beast, metaphorically, a brutal, bestial man, a savage or a ferocious man, you know? So, going into the Greek again, it's thara, a hunting of wild beasts to destroying them, metaphor, a preparing destruction for men. You see? So this beast system is going to go into perdition, like it says in Revelation 17, you know, which is the beast that was and is not, you know, and then that goes into perdition. That beast is talking about America, Babylon the Great, you know, and it's going to go into perdition meaning destruction, imminent destruction, you know, utter destruction. So it says, here is wisdom, let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man. And again, that beast can also be a bestial man, a savage. It says, and his number is 666. So when we go to it, it says indeclinable numeral adjective. So it's to an adjective. Let's look at the word adjective. A noun, which is grammar. Any member of a class of words that modify nouns and pronouns primarily by describing a particular quality of the word they are modifying, as wise and a wise grandmother. All right, so describing that noun, you know. So wise, as wise in a wise grandmother, or perfect in a perfect sower, or handsome in he is extremely handsome. Other terms as numbers, 1 cup, 12 months, certain demonstrative pronouns, this magazine, those questions. It says adjective pertaining to or function as an adjective. The adjective use of a noun. Okay, so an adjective used as a noun. Then we go back. So we saw that the beast was a noun, and it was a direct noun, you know, a direct thing. Just let me go back and prove that again. Number beast. No, that was Revelation 16. Which is the noun of charagma. It's a noun, but it's an accusative noun. All right, accusative. So in 18, it's a description of a noun when it comes to 603 square and 6. It's an adjective. Let's see, go into it. Strong's G 5516. All right, and this is where, you know, the fun begins. You know, inside joke. It says, down here is 603 square and 6, the meaning of which the basis of much vain speculation. All right, because people, you know, have a lot of vain. Let's look at that word vain. You know, it's empty. Conceited, futile, having or showing an excessive high opinion of one's appearance, abilities, or worth, producing no result. All right, it's empty, no results. So it says vain speculations. Speculation meaning to see. All right, which is vain. You have a lot of these people that say that the mark of the beast is, you know, something like philosophy or Christianity or anything of that nature. But it says the cha and the si, psi, the psi, cha and the psi, and then stigma. All right, it says, and an obsolete letter, which is the stigma. Stigma is an obsolete letter. As a cross, it says, of the Greek alphabet, intermediate between the 5th and the 6th, used as numbers, denoting respectively 660 and 6, which is 666, as a numeral, you know. So when you go into this, is the chai, the si, the psi, and the stigma. All right, so let me I should have taken a picture of it instead. So when you go to this, which you can't look up, I don't know why I put look up, but this is the karax. All right, so when we go to karax, which is 2 down from charagma, which is, you know, the charagma is Strong's G 5480. So Strong's G 5482. Let's see if I can look that up. Strong's 5482. Charax. All right, charax, which is from charaso, to sharpen, to point, to akin to, through the idea of scratching. You see that? So it's a physical thing. So it says, if you look here at the word, you have the cha, all right, which is over here. The cha, and the sai. The cha and the sai. The cha and the sai. All right, so that's the cha. And then this one would be the middle one. The sai. The cha and the sai. All right, which is the same as this one, the cha, the sai, which is the charax. All right, the beginning and the end of it is the ch and the x. Just right here, the charax, which is from charaso, to sharpen, to a point, akin to, similar. You see, to sharpen to a point or similar to, which is the word grapho, through the idea of scratching. All right, not in the sense of writing, it being written down, but in the sense of scratching. That's what it goes into, all right, which is an incision, you know? So going back here, the chai, the shai, or the chai and the sai, which is charax, which is, let me see, where's the actual definition? It just says to sharpen to a point, you know? So a sharp point, see if they have anything else. No, that's it. All right, so a sharp point, stigma. Let's look up the word stigma, which is Strong's. Said it was obsolete. 4742. All right, so we have stigma and we have the charax. All right, charax and stigma, which is part of the 660 and 6. Charax meaning to sharpen to a point, and stigma is to a mark or brand a bed of leaves or rushes. It says stigma, properly a brand, mark burned into the skin, figuratively, holy scars that go with serving Yahweh Shai as Lord, used only in Galatians. Stigma, a brand, referred to as literal scars on Paul from lictors' rods at Sidon, Antioch, the stoning at Lystra, etc. These marked Paul off as the slave of Yahweh Shai, bearing holy scars for Mashiach. All right, it says brand marks, stigma, like tattoos, were burned into their skin of slaves in New Testament times, proving they belong to a particular owner. All right, and that's what Esau Edom wants to do. He wants to cause you to be his slave. You know, he wants to own you. You see, the word 600, 6 also goes into, what was it, Narawan, Naryawan, Caesar, which is Nero Caesar, you know, which he represents a family of people, which are the Edomites, you know, which according to 2 Ezra 6 and 9, they are the end of the world. So they're the ones that are going to bring this stigma. You know, they're the ones that's going to bring this mark of the beast forth, which the beast, again, represents metaphorically a bestial man, a savage. You know. So what does that RFID chip help you with? It helps you with payments. You can upload documents. You know, basically like a computer, man. You know, you have the gigabytes in a chip. You know, and you upload information or you download information. You know, that's the same thing with the RFID chip, radio frequency. All right, radio frequency identification chip. You see, you're gonna have your money, your passports. You know. Let me see what else. There was one more. Stigma. I have it right here also on my blue letter. I have the New Strong's Expanded Exhaustive Concordance of the Bible. It's probably like $48. But on the word charagma here, which is 5480, which is the same, continuing, it says charagma, to engrave, denotes a mark or stamp. All right, and that word denotes, when you go into it, it says to be a mark or sign of, to indicate. All right, so how is Esau Edom going to indicate? How is this devil going to indicate who belongs to him and who belongs to the Most High? It's not going to be represented by a spiritual symbol. All right, because he's not spiritual. How can you read a spiritual thing? You know, even the men that are spiritual, all right, they still have to work with you in order to see if you are that spiritual man that they're looking for. You know, they can't just look at you and say, yep, that's an elect right there. Even John the Baptist, which is the greatest of all prophets, according to scripture, even John the Baptist asked Yahushua, are you him who we should search for, or should we look for another? You know, because you can't just look at somebody and say, yep, that's the elect right there, I can tell. How is Esau Edom going to be able to look at somebody and say, yep, he's one of mine? He's not going to be able to, man. You know, especially if he hates all Jakes. You know, it says to be a mark or sign of, indicate. All right, a fever after denotes an infection. All right, so what's going to denote the followers of the anti-Messianic people? The mark of the beast. You know, it says to be a name or designation for, a mean. All right, means to salvation is the name of Yahweh and Yahushai. Means to death is taking that chip. It says number 3, to represent by a symbol, stand as a symbol. Let's look at that word symbol. Something used for or regards as representing something else. A material object representing something, often something immaterial. An emblem, a token, or a sign. You see? So a material object representing something immaterial. You know? You can't physically look at somebody and say, yep, that guy owns you. All right? That's why back then, the Hebrews, what they would do is they would pierce your ear with an awl. You know? They would bore out your ear, that means make a hole in your ear, with an awl, with an instrument. They would poke that instrument through your ear, and that way your ear had a hole. You know? And then you would put a earring, and that represents somebody own you. You see? That's what that represents. And that's in the book of, what was it, Deuteronomy 21? Book of Deuteronomy 21, where it goes into that, you know? So it says, Number one, something used for or regarded as representing something else, a material object representing something, often something immaterial, emblem, a token, or a sign, a letter, figure, or character, or mark, or a combination of letters, or the like used to designate something. It says, that's it on that. But that's what symbol goes into. So where it says denotes is to represent by a symbol, to stand as a symbol for, and that mark of the beast is a symbol for the rulership of Esau Edom, for his wisdom, for his knowledge, for his understanding, for his representation of a kingdom, So going back again, Revelations 13 and 16, for he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. That means if you take the mark, you're going to be able to buy, you're going to be able to sell any day of the week. We know that on the Sabbath days, we don't really buy, we don't really sell, we don't really do manner of work. So it's not talking about the Sabbath days, but it's talking about an everyday life. All right, because there's coming a famine, not just of the word, or not just of the world, but also of the word, But in that famine, you're not going to have food, And the little food you have is going to be manipulated, all right, to the point where only the ones that have the mark are going to be able to buy it. If you don't have the mark, you won't be able to buy it. It says, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. That means you're in allegiance with this man. It says, here is wisdom, let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for as the number of a man, and his number is Chai, Psi, Stigma. And again, the Chai and the Psi is Karax, all right, which could be Karax, and then Stigma. Karax meaning a pointed, like a pointy object or instrument, all right, and stigma going back to pricking, stigmatus, to prick somebody. So it says, stigma, branded mark, burn into the skin, figuratively holy scars. Go back to the meaning up here. A mark or a brand. All right, so let's go to stigma. Chai, Shai, stigma. And it should say stigma. Here it is. Let's look it up here. Shame, a mark of disgrace associated with a particular circumstance, quality, or a person. In Christian tradition, marks corresponding to those left on Yahushai's body for the crucifixion. So it's a physical thing, man. All right, so stigma, which would be stigma 22, there it is, 47, 42. Stizo or stick, a mark pricked. All right, when you prick somebody, that means you're poking them, right, with that thing. You pricked in or branded upon the body. In ancient Oriental usage, slaves, soldiers bore the name of the stamp of their masters or commander branded or pricked cut into their bodies to indicate what master or general they belonged to. And there were even some devotees who stamped themselves in their way with a token of their gods. That means they purposely did it to themselves. But it means to stick or to prick. Pierce. You see that? To pierce. To make a small hole in. Something with a sharp point to pierce slightly. You know? Doesn't mean it goes all the way in. You can see it on this video. All right, look. All they did was just pierce him. You see? That's it. Just right there. You know? That's what the mark of the beast is, man. To pierce. Stigma. That's what it goes into. To stick or prick. Not all the way in, but just a small prick. All right? It says a mark incised. Let's look up. To cut, to engrave. A mark or decorate an object or a surface with a cut or a series of cuts. You know? That's what it means to be incised or to have an incision, a mark, an incision, or punched. Punched, you know, like when you puncture something. It says for recognition of ownership, i.e. figuratively scars of service, which is what the Apostle Paul had. He had scars over his body from getting beat. All right, but this scar is different from that. This scar is for recognition of ownership. You know? Which, just to prove that point, let me actually go to Exodus 21. Exodus 21:1. Now these are the judgments which thou shalt set before them. If thou buy a Hebrew servant, whether he be a Edomite or an Israelite, or it be what is it called? Really, this pertains to Israelites owning other Hebrews. You know, you have Hebrew Edomites, Hebrew Ammonites, Hebrew what are they called? The Elamites. All right, Hebrew Ammonites. You know, you had Hebrews around the Hebrews, which are the Israelites. All right, because Hebrew came from Eber, which came from Shem. You know, so it says, if thou buy a Hebrew servant, 6 years he shall serve, and in the 7th he shall go out free for nothing. All right, so this is really talking about Hebrews. It says, if he came in by himself, he shall go out by himself. If he were married, then his wife shall go out with him. If his master gave him a wife, and she have borne him sons or daughters, the wife and her children shall be her master's, and he shall go out by himself. And if the servant shall plainly say, I love my master, my wife, and my children, I will not go out free, then his master shall bring him unto the judges. He shall also bring him to the door, or unto the door post, and his master shall bore his ear through with an awl, and he shall serve him forever. You see, so the same thing that we were doing back then is the same thing that Esau Edom is trying to do now. You know? It says, bore, which is ratazai, and that's an instrument to bore. All right, to bore means to pierce. You know, so look up bore. Drill, to make a hole in something, especially with a revolving tool, to make one's way through a crowd, which is something else. All right, but that bore goes into piercing. You know, when you have an engine and you bore out your engine, it means you're cutting the inside of your engine out. All right, to cutting out the holes. You know, you're boring your inside of your engine. That way you can maximize horsepower. It says pierce. All right, which we know what the word pierce means. You know, so going back, bore, so to pierce his ear through with an awl, is ratazai. All right, which is a boring instrument. You know, so you can bore out your ear, but you can't do it out of nothing. You have to have an instrument. and that's what that instrument represents. All right, you have the boring instrument, which is that cross, and then what's being put inside of you is that mark of the beast, so it all goes hand in hand, man. So going back to Revelations 13. What was it? They have no rest. That's where I meant to go. Shall have no rest. Revelations 14. Revelations 14:11. And the smoke of their torment ascended up forever and ever, and they have no rest day or night, who worship the beast or his image, and whosoever receiveth the mark of his name. So when we go into the word mark here, it's the same thing as Revelations 13. Worship, image, mark, charagma. You see? A stamp or an imprinted mark. Of the mark stamped on the forehead on the right hand of the badge of the followers of the anti-Messianic. It says a mark branded upon horses, thing carved, sculpture, graven work of idolatrous image. Harax, a pale or stake, a palisade or rampart, pales between which the earth, stones, trees, so and so on. It says from harasso, to sharpen, to point. All right, that's what you pierce with, with the idea of this one, which is of scratching, so to stake. A stake, i.e. by implication, a palisade or rampart, a military mound of circumambulation, the siege, the trench, that goes into something else. Luke 19:43, for the days shall come upon thee, that thine enemies shall cast a trench about thee, and compass thee round, and keep thee in on every side. All right, and that trench is talking about FEMA camps, which is also coming, So that word charax from charagma, which means a stake or a pale, all right, which is what happened to Yahushua. All right, he was impaled. When you impale someone, look at that word impale. To fasten, stick, or fix upon a sharpened stake or the like, to pierce with a sharpened stake thrust up through the body as for torture or punishment. To fix upon, to pierce through with anything pointed, to make helpless as if pierced through. This is archaic, to enclose with or as if with pales or stakes. Fence in, hem in. To marshal, two coats of arms as a family arms. It says impale. Let's see. Thesaurus. To prick, transfix. All right. So prick means to cut, to gash, to puncture made by a needle, thorn, or the like. A sharp point, prickle. The act of pricking. The state of sensation of being pricked. Shalom.